right, welcome everybody to episode 38 of the Bergen Catholic Podcast. I'm Dan Long, your co-host, class of 2003, joined alongside by my co-host Matt Rosa, BC class of 2008. And on today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, none other than Patrick Maron, BC class of 2012. And Patrick, thanks for joining us here on the podcast to share your Bergen Catholic experience. And the first question we ask of everybody is, why did you in fact choose to come to Bergen Catholic in the first place?
Sure. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad we actually were able to get this done. So my attraction to Bergen Catholic may be a little different than everybody else's. So by the time I came around, I have three older brothers and kind of a long-standing family legacy between my father and a lot of my uncles that actually went to Bergen Catholic. And so by the time I came around as the fourth of my father's sons, who all went to Bergen Catholic, right? As soon as I found out I got in, the option was taken off the table, right? So I think I needed to go to maintain the legacy factor of being able to engage with the teachers and saying that first question, which is, oh, you're another Maron, right? So, but my time at Bergen Catholic was very unique, right? We were in a bit of a transition period, and the school was going through some transitions related to the athletic programs and even some of the teachers and the faculty that were here. And, kind of where it built a lot of the transition, or what played with a lot of the transition, ended up being a lot of the camaraderie that we built as a class, right? A lot of the kids that I was friends with at Bergen Catholic, I'm still friends with today, but we still have that same aspect where I could probably not talk to them or see them for a couple of years. As soon as I see them, it's like we never skipped a beat, right? And I think that's what really drove even a lot of my final decision-making for Bergen Catholic into the fact that I saw that with my brothers and a lot of their friends, right? That sense of really being able to build that bond and building and formulating those relationships that are going to last a lifetime. I even still say to this day, I went to Providence College and graduated with the class of 2016, and I am still closer with my Bergen Catholic and St. Joe's Grammar School friends than I am with any of my Providence friends at the moment. So I think the idea of the legacy factor mixed with that brotherhood factor really is what drove me to want to engage with Bergen Catholic like that.
Well, I think it's amazing that I'm talking to, as a co-host, the founder of the Crusader Crazies, really, and then really the poster child of the Crusader Crazies, because if you look in the main office, there's a wonderful picture of yourself decked out in the scarlet and gold face paint. But can you talk a little bit about, once you now come to Bergen Catholic and you're following in your father's footsteps and your brother's footsteps, what the actual experience was like for you here as you did craft really your own path in your 4-year Bergen Catholic experience?
Yeah, so I was lucky. My brother that's one up above me, Kyle, was actually a senior when I was a freshman here and really took me under his wing with his friends in terms of helping me kind of settle down on some of the nerves that any young student would have when they're coming in as a freshman and getting to know everybody and getting to know the program and the school as a whole. My experience with Bergen really started to evolve when, I got to meet a lot of my brother's friends, got involved with the athletic programs, and then I got to meet a lot of the teachers, and even teachers that are here to this day. I will always give her a shout out, as Miss Holt was probably my most influential teacher with me during my time here. Taught me a lot, but it really had a lot of respect for the way she conducted the class and the way she really got along with the students, and it kind of changed my perspective. I come from a school, obviously, with St. Joe's, where it was very kind of teacher-to-student relationship during those grammar school years, but how the teachers really started to engage with the students as the students were starting to formulate that brotherhood really resonated with me in a way that really wanted me to make me stay and play a bigger part with Bergen Catholic. Outside of my mural that's still in the main office today, the other bigger part was I had followed in my oldest brother's footsteps in an Eagle Scout project, which was the 9/11 memorial that's outside of Bergen Catholic in the front even to today, and really trying to give back in that sense, right? That project was something that was obviously meant for the 8 alumni that unfortunately had perished during the 9/11 attacks in New York City there, but it was a way to give back to Bergen and to do it in a way that I really wanted to try to leave my mark, but I also wanted to maintain the brotherhood aspect in that even though I never met those individuals that had perished, it's still important, right, to the fact that they were Bergen Catholic brothers in and of themselves.
So Patrick, post-college career, what then drove you to do what you're doing now? And how has that also been a factor of still continuing to find a way to give back to Bergen Catholic in all different facets, not just as a proud alum, but having a hands-on approach? What was it about what you're doing now, and please tell the audience with your career, that drove you after being at Providence?
Sure. So today I am the administrative director for the Villa Marie Claire Hospice, which is located up in Saddle River. And just kind of a snippet on that, it's a 20-bed inpatient hospice unit that we are tasked with kind of reinventing the way in which healthcare approaches and looks at a hospice facility, right? A lot of what I've done there, I cater towards a lot of the factors that I developed as far as character and the way I tackle my problems and critical thinking to a lot of what I learned in the classrooms of Bergen Catholic, right? Fast forwarding a little bit, I was on a board with a small horse group that focused on rehabilitating veterans that were coming back from combat with rescued Mustangs that were going through the same rehabilitation process. And unfortunately, we had to part ways from the organization. But at the time, I had then asked, I was still following Bergen Catholic at the time, and I said, well, I wonder if they would ever accept me as a board member for the Bergen Catholic piece, right? So sure enough, I asked, and after a couple of interviews, I was given the opportunity to be on the board of trustees here with Bergen Catholic, and then now given even the bigger project of being the chairman of the campus master plan, which is my way of trying to give back to the future of Bergen Catholic. I've always been proud of the fact, like most alumni are, of the idea that I went to Bergen Catholic. I can still, meet people today and find that instant bond that happens when you find out you went to Bergen Catholic and we start reminiscing on which teachers you had, like Brother Breyer. But the transition and the transformation that we're trying to accomplish with the overall campus master plan and giving back to the students, I've always been a big proponent of wanting the school to, as far as aesthetics go, meet the reputation that it holds. That's very near and dear to my heart, both in the athletic community and as well as the academic piece, right? And so having grown up working for a multitude of contractors since the age of 13 and fast-tracking all the way through college, I had started my career obviously working in healthcare and in the health insurance sector until the Villa had really kind of fallen on my lap. But part of the attraction with the Villa was, I got to go right into a massive renovation project that they had there, working with the same contractors that I grew up with. As far as the transition and transformation that we had accomplished with the Villa, that was my way of trying to give back to Bergen Catholic and make sure that the school is equipped with meeting the needs of what tomorrow's problems may present.
So you've talked a lot about, really, you've mentioned one teacher and Mrs. Holt who played a significant role in your time at Bergen Catholic, but you also mentioned Brother Breyer, and every alum, whether you had him or didn't, have your Brother Breyer stories, but it works so well with the fact that this year's gala is honoring our teachers, who are really the foundation of what Edmund Rice education is all about, the Bergen Catholic education is all about, but it's what we all remember when we walk away from our experience. When we come back, we very seldom talk about an athletic practice. We very seldom talk about an event that took place maybe at lunch or in the gym, but we talk about things that we learned from teachers or funny comments that teachers made in class. And it always really does stem back to experiences that we had with our teachers in the classroom. So can you just talk a little bit about what that experience is like for you, what some of your memories are about Bergen Catholic, and why these teachers play such an important role in the development of these young men?
Absolutely. Obviously Miss Holt was probably the first that really came to mind, but there's a multitude of teachers in my time here at Bergen Catholic, and I could go down the list of even some that are still here today, Mr. Henry, Ms. Casper, right? Teachers that really understood what population they're catering towards, right, and how to meet the needs and making sure a bunch of high school boys, right, are able to pay attention in class and really get something out of this. I think the teachers, particularly, I will reference Mr. Urk as far as some of the stories we've had related to his antics in the classroom. Was a phenomenal teacher in a lot of ways, but also knew how to cut the tension in the classroom, right? Knew how to get the guys to laugh a little bit, when we were stressing out over whether it's exams or any of those final pieces that are going to come into play during the academic calendar year, but knew how to really, meet each individual student where they're at, right, and try to cater an approach that's going to work best for them, right? Ms. Holt was phenomenal with that. I still attribute a lot of my public speaking to the lessons I learned in Ms. Holt's public speaking class, which I still carry with me today, right? And being able to be confident and just standing up in front of an audience and to speak, right, even off the cuff for that degree. A lot of the ingrained traits that I take with me from a career perspective, and don't get me wrong, the academics play a big part with that, but those little moments and things that I learned from the different teachers here, it's taught me a lot about how I approach even running my own team, right, that works with me at the Villa, how I approach having conversations with people and trying to look at the world through the lens of, it doesn't always exist in black and white, right? You have to meet the needs of the population we're working with and, try to find unique solutions that are going to work best for that particular group, which may not be the same for another group. I could go down to many of the stories of some of the funny antics, but I think I'll spare the school and some of the details of some of the antics that took place here. But I will touch on a little bit of the rapport factor that was developed with the faculty also came from the fact that even for some of the antics we pulled and played, the teachers also, often got a good laugh at it as well, right? They embrace the whole brotherhood mindset. They embrace the fact that it's a bunch of high school boys maybe goofing off or being a little mature about things, but it really let the brotherhood aspect flourish in a lot of ways, both inside and outside the classroom. And that's the unique approach in saying that they were able to adapt and adjust to what the students were going through at the time, right, and what we're trying to accomplish here.
If anyone's ever asking you, Patrick, about your time at Bergen Catholic, does it take you a long time to get to trying to explain what Yule Day actually is? or do people not even have any grasp of what that really entails?
That is a great question. I was actually just talking about this with a non-Bergen Catholic person yesterday in the sense of, have you ever heard of something like Yule Day, right? And did you do that at your, I think they went to Paramus High School, right? It often is something that is hard to put into words to describe to someone that has not gone to Bergen Catholic.
Very true.
But I also think that's what lends itself to the fact of why the uniqueness in the brotherhood still take place, right? I could go, and I'll even go back to my days at Aetna, when one of my bosses had walked in that was brand new at the time, and immediately found out that I went to Bergen Catholic, pulled me in his office, and immediately started talking to me about Yule Day, right? And some of the other antics that were there. Now, this guy was a high-level, running the entire network for New York City, big player, big boss, right? Very professional guy, very successful in his own right, but immediately went back into almost talking to a Bergen Catholic student. We closed the door and reminisced for almost 2 hours on all the different pieces of Bergen Catholic and all the great memories we have with that. So I think that translation in being able to have uniqueness like Yule Day and some of the other traditions that we still hold at Bergen Catholic, even the Crusader Crazies, right, to me is something that's always been a unique factor in how much the student body really gets behind one another. All the brotherhood factor that comes into play here, and then being able to say that we are going to go out and support all programs, right? Athletic programs, even, I remember going to volleyball games. I remember going to jazz ensembles with as if I was a Crusader Crazy. So, we really tried to make it something that made the presence of Bergen Catholic known, and I know that may be a bit of a turnoff to some people that are not part of Bergen Catholic, but I think that's, again, what leads to that transition of the long, flourishing relationship that we still hold.
So having left and come back and seeing how a lot of things when it comes to the fabric of the school are the same, when you think about the future of Bergen Catholic, right, because you're knee-deep in it, right, of helping to create a vision for the future of what our alma mater will look like. For those that listen, that don't really know about some of the things that are taking place and from your vantage point of a future, what is it that you hope listeners understand in terms of the future of Bergen Catholic and where you hope the future of Bergen Catholic goes?
So the biggest thing with me for the future of Bergen Catholic really goes back into creating a culture, an environment, and an institution that really caters towards developing the young men, the leaders of tomorrow in a lot of different ways, right? Again, you can lean on a lot of the academic and some of the things we learn in the classroom, but how to hold that sense of character in a way that is respectable and transitions even to the professional world, right? A lot of those simple lessons like sitting up straight with your shoulders back, right? Making eye contact and shaking hands, right? Still holds weight even in today's professional world with things, right? You'd be amazed about how many, even younger students come out of college, and I just don't see that. But I can always guarantee that anytime I meet even a Bergen Catholic student while they're at Bergen Catholic, they will act and conduct themselves in such a way that they are far more mature than even their years present. I think that for the future of Bergen, I really want to try to preserve that in a way that allows the students to learn how to think critically, right? Learn how, not what to think, but how to think. Learn how to adapt and adjust to the problems that we need help with today in the world, right? In the real world of things, and setting everybody up on a path that's going to allow them to be impactful in ways, both from the traditional values we hold as a Catholic institution from Brother Edmund Rice, but also from those leader-like qualities that exist where we understand how people work, we want to solve problems, and we want to give back to the communities that we serve.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to swing by here, join us on the BC podcast. Thank you for continuing to give back to the alma mater, being part of the board, helping shape Bergen Catholic's future to come. And please try to carve out space in your schedule late December. We'd love to have you back for Yule Day here and have a little fun. You could see, like, you know, with Matt and I, as we walk the building, we both start to feel like older guys are saying, well, back in my day, Yule Day looked like this or that. And now everyone's just playing Madden and NBA 2K. But, like, we'd love to have you back again. And again, thanks for joining us and being a huge part of Bergen Catholic's success.
Absolutely. And I will leave you with this. I actually still am due for, at one of the gala events, I had won a being principal for a day. That is something I still expect to collect on in terms of being able to be principal. I do expect to have a significant amount of jug pads in my office ready to go when I do come in. And Mr. McIlhenny will obviously step aside and let me go back to some of my antics that he used to get me in trouble for even when I was a student here. But yes, I will definitely be back for Yule Day. We'll be more than welcome to come back on the podcast, but really want to come back and give back and even take advantage of being that principal for a day and see how everybody responds to something like that.
So get ready, students, for an absolute skip day that day, because you are going to be just absolutely pounded with detention slips. So get ready for that. So again, thank you to Patrick Maron for joining us here as our guest on the Bergen Catholic podcast. Stick around, as we'll have more as we recap everything going on here in BC. Be sure to be up to date on everything that's going on in Crusader Country by following Bergen Catholic on social media. You can follow BC on Facebook, Instagram, and X for all of your news related to BC. So again, follow Bergen Catholic on social media today. Be sure to save the date for Thursday, November 20th for the 2025 Crusader Gala, which will be held at the Venetian in Garfield, New Jersey, where we honor the history of the Bergen Catholic faculty as the inspiration for our successes in Bergen Catholic's 70-year history. All right, welcome back, everybody, here on the BC podcast. And we thank again Patrick Maron for joining us as our special guest. Now taking a look at the news, sports, and upcoming events here in Crusader Country. And first off, Matt, Bergen Catholic welcomed 2 new members into the Crusader work community. First, it was announced that Officer Mark Miskovitz would become the first ever Class 3 officer in BC on a daily basis to help provide another level of security and supervision for the school. And then the most recent hire announced was Mrs. Anna DePasquale, who was welcomed into the main office as part of the staff there. So both Mark and Anna are also Bergen Catholic proud parents. Anna had 2 sons who just recently graduated. Mark has one that's already in the building. So it's great to be able to welcome these 2 new additions here into Crusader Country to be thriving members of the Bergen Catholic community.
It's always good to see familiar faces, especially parents who are able to come back and help the school continue to grow and thrive. And I can't think of a better person to be one of the first faces you see when you come into the school than Mrs. DePasquale. I mean, Nick and Michael, our 2 boys, are absolutely amazing. They've been involved in so many different things at Bergen Catholic, especially the performing arts. But it's so great to see her back. And Officer Miskowitz, it's great to have him here. It's something that we've talked about for a long time, right? Like, we see, unfortunately, we've seen some of the things that have happened in society with regards to schools and the safety of students, and we want to make sure that we keep that promise to our young men and to their families that when you're here, this is a safe place, and that we're here to support your learning, and that you don't have to worry about anything else while you're in what really does become like your home over the 4 years that you're here. So it's great to have both of them here, and we're excited to see what their journey is like now being on staff.
And last week, while you were down enjoying the sunshine in Florida, and very jealous about that, and playing some golf, maybe not great by you, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We had on Friday a school-wide assembly on October 17th where BC opens their doors to Hearts of Joy International, who came to speak to the entire school community a school-wide assembly. Hearts of Joy International is a non-profit organization dedicated to providing life-saving heart surgeries for children with Down syndrome. And they had Lauren Costabile, who is the founder of Hearts of Joy International, speak to the assembled audience. Then had an epic musical performance by Eric Anselin, who is a rap artist who also has Down syndrome and was telling his story to the collective audience. And then also to kick things off, they had a personal story told to them by current Bergen Catholic parent and Z100 radio personality Danielle Monaro. So it was a great event to have this group come in to talk a bit about what amazing work they do in terms of service to those who have Down syndrome, and then having the audience go wild for someone such as Eric Anselin, who was a performing artist, showing that even if you have Down syndrome, you can be just like everybody else in chasing your goals. And he was just absolutely embraced by the Bergen Catholic community. It was something that, as an alum, as someone working here, obviously promoting different events that are going on in BC, I was very proud to see how Bergen Catholic students really grew to adopt Eric and this whole group that was here that was partnering with Bergen Catholic. So again, that's Hearts of Joy International. You could visit them online as well, as I posted and promoted on the Bergen Catholic social media page. And we thank them for coming into BC and having our first school-wide assembly of the school year here in 2025-26 for a great organization. And Matt, Jordan Thomas, one of the standout football players here at Bergen Catholic, a standout in the classroom as well as being on the gridiron. He was rightfully honored at a pregame ceremony prior to senior day this past Saturday when Bergen Catholic was taking on Del Barden, as representatives from the United States Navy presented him with his Navy All-American jersey and invited him to play in the Navy All-American Bowl this January 10th in San Antonio, Texas. BC is getting quite used to having these All-Americans being named and being welcomed into these national affairs. We had Quincy last year and had others, obviously, certainly in the most recent history. Jordan Thomas is going to go down as one of the best players that Bergen Catholic has had and one of the best overall student athletes that we've had in quite some time. The Buckeyes, once again, are feasting when it comes to recruiting Bergen Catholic Crusaders.
Jordan is such a great kid, too. Like, when I think about what makes Bergen Catholic so different is I think about kids like Jordan Thomas, where here's a kid who's going to play in the Navy All-American Bowl, and he's one of the best players in the country. He's an unbelievable student. Right? If you listen to his interview with Jersey Sports Zone, I want everybody who is considering Bergen Catholic to just listen to that. And you hear what he says, and you hear how he presents himself, and you go, that's the type of kids that we have here. He is incredible. But it's my understanding that he dedicated the ball that he was given to Mr. Henry. And again, going back to the Bergen Catholic experience, and when we talked with Patrick about his favorite teachers, and we talk about the 70th anniversary of Bergen Catholic and honoring the faculty at our gala for the 70th anniversary and the impact that the faculty, the teachers have on this experience. Here's another example of a student who, in one of the highest moments of his time as a student athlete at Bergen Catholic, he remembers somebody who played such a significant role in his experience, and it was a teacher. And that's just what makes him such an incredible representative of the school. We're so proud of him. Ohio State's getting a great one, for sure. I mean, the amount of kids that we have there right now with Ty Malone and with Quincy Porter and now Jordan, right? That's become the new pipeline, right? Like for a couple of years, it was almost like the Princeton Tigers were Bergen Catholic South, but now it's Ohio State is where a lot of these kids are going, and they're getting an unbelievable opportunity to play at the highest level. But when you look at all of these kids and you look at what has made such an impact on them, it hasn't been on the football field. It hasn't been in the weight room. It's been some of the people that have been standing in front of them in these classrooms.
And something that was always expressed to us, whether it be in a couple of the interviews that we did with Coach Vito last season, is that, sure, you could be attracted to prospective families and student athletes who have the measurables and the talent that is going to help you win games. Because as much as you could be an amazing coach, if you don't have the tools at your disposal, you're not going to win those games. But a big thing that Coach Vito always stresses to us is that the character, the integrity that he looks for in the makeup of these type of student athletes that he can then use to become leaders later on in their respective careers at BC. That's what Jordan Thomas is. He is a top-notch person before he even is an All-American level type of football talent. And Jordan even showed that not only in honoring one of the most beloved figures here in Bergen Catholic in Mr. Hayden Henry, but also showing and showcasing his talents right afterwards in producing a career best 2 interceptions in that 42-7 rout of Del Barden. That shows you who Jordan Thomas is on and off the field. And congratulations to him continuing that Bergen Catholic tradition of being named an All-American and in participating in this very prestigious event that, again, is going to be on January 10th in San Antonio, Texas, and everybody could watch on NBC and Peacock. 2 college professors, Matt, from Iona University came to campus earlier this week to speak to the Bergen Catholic students who are in the AP Research, Honors Research, and AP Seminar classes about the proper use of AI in writing scholarly research papers. The 2 professors were Rob Kistner and Dr. Ivy Linton Stabel, having these 2 that were brought as guests to Bergen Catholic by Brother Raymond Veracruzzi, teaching the students something that obviously you would be really interested in doing your master's and then getting into the road to a doctorate down the line. AI is a real thing that Bergen Catholic is now preparing its own students for in years to come, so that when they get to a point of doing the scholarly research in their AP classes as senior year, it's also preparing them for college, where you can't get away with just having AI write things for you or you're going to be expelled. It's BC presenting these opportunities for these students to learn now so that they don't have to find out the hard way later.
Yeah, I wish I knew this speech was going on Monday. I would have loved to have gone.
It was fascinating.
I'm in a research methods course right now, and I'm learning all the things that AI does, but it's fascinating to be able to actually hear it from somebody like in your face. But it's incredible what artificial intelligence can do, especially when it comes to scholarly work. I mean, we thought it was a big deal that things like Turnitin existed when we went to school, and I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we had to take part of the onboarding for my program now was we had to take an entire lesson, course seminar on proper use of AI with citing papers. And I was like, you just do this, and as I was watching it, I was like, this is way more in depth than I thought. But it's a great topic for the kids to learn. Again, it's bringing cutting edge opportunities in the classroom to our students to really make them be leaders in the educational space. So it's great to see that they're getting to hear from 2 college-level professors going over that, because that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to prepare them for that next step.
And in each of those classes, those students at the end of the year have to present and defend a scholarly research paper. So this is an opportunity for them to learn, and what they did. And when I was listening to it, it was amazing. And I'm thinking back to the dark ages of me writing my senior thesis in college and saying, wow, this would have made life a little easier. But at the same regard, as you mentioned, it makes things a little more difficult. And they were making a point of showing, hey, AI might present this idea to you, but is it actually fact? Is it something that can be proven? Is it correctly cited? So all these different steps in the process were presented to the students assembled at this presentation, showing them that AI can be a hindrance but also a big help. And again, I think it gave these students a leg up in their research, and also giving them the idea of what is presentable, what is acceptable when it comes down the line, when it comes to writing scholarly research, which is what they have to do in all 3 of those classes. So that's taking a look at some of the news stories from Bergen Catholic in the last week and also the beginning of this week. Now shifting gears and looking over at the sports scene for the Crusaders. Bergen Catholic football team 6-1 now on the season. They were tied at one point in their game on Saturday, only their second home game of the year against Delbarton, 7-7. And then BC said the equivalent of, please hold my coffee, and then just rattled off 35 unanswered points in that one. Trey Tagliaferri, he is just lighting up the scoreboard these days, Matt. He threw for 4 touchdowns, which tied a sophomore quarterback record in Bergen Catholic history, over 330 yards. He now has 17 touchdown passes, 1 interception. Bergen Catholic has emerged as this demon of a vertical passing team with 3 outstanding wide receivers, all of which are juniors. And that sets up the collision course that we were talking about for the last couple of weeks. Bergen Catholic hosting St. Joe's, number 2 in the state versus number 3. If BC wins, there very well could be an easier path for the Crusaders to get back to MetLife than they even had last year as the number 1 overall seed. And I really believe, Matt, on the horizon for this one, if BC beats St. Joe's, lock Bergen Catholic in as the number 2 seed, we're assuming that the team in Ramsey wins out. Lock Bergen as the number 2 seed. Then you could possibly have a bracket where St. Joe's is the number 5 seed and is on the other side of the bracket from BC, and you have the Crusaders maybe taking on the likes of a St. Peter's Prep in Oradell in a potential semifinal to punch their ticket back to defend their 4-time state championships. Everything's on the line here. It's a must-win game if you're St. Joe's, but for Bergen, this is your statement opportunity that you've been itching for since losing that night in Ramsey.
This game is the biggest game of the season for both programs. And in a way, it brings me back again to when I think about my freshman year, the 2004 state championship team that went to Bosco lost. While the Joe's Bosco result was different, Bosco won on the field goal in overtime this year as opposed to losing to Joe's in 2004. This game sends a message to the entire state of New Jersey that what happened that night in Ramsey, we're making up for it now. And there are obviously logistical things in play here, right? Like if you win this game, you, in all essences, you lock up a top 2 seed. If you lose, it changes things dramatically. So there's a lot on the line. So this really is the biggest game for both of these teams. It's a huge game for St. Joe's for sure. Having previously lost in a nail-biter to St. Peter's Prep on the road and having lost at home in overtime to Don Bosco, while both losses combined by 4 points, they're still 2 losses. And they're healthy. They're 100% coming in here. You know they're thinking about the state semifinal game last year. So this is a humongous game for both programs, for sure. It'll be an unbelievable atmosphere. We know that. We have 3 reunions coming back, right, with the class of 80, class of 85, and class of 2000. So there's a lot of alumni who will be back on campus for this game. So you feel the weather's changing and the leaves on the trees are changing. This is where I always say there is not a better atmosphere on a Saturday afternoon in the area than a Saturday afternoon in Oradell. This is one of them, and with the magnitude of this game, it's going to be a fun one.
So much on the line, like you said, Matt, and it's been a while since St. Joe's defeated Bergen Catholic. They had BC on the ropes last year here in Oradell in the state semifinals. The Crusaders rallied from 2 touchdowns down, forced overtime, eventually won it in OT. Again, if Bergen Catholic has hopes of garnering one of the top 2 seeds in the bracket, you have to take care of business here at home against St. Joe's. You have a final game of the regular season looming at Seton Hall Prep, where you'll be the heavy favorite next week. BC can lock up the 2 seed, home field advantage, heading to MetLife, and again, most likely would send St. Joe's to the lower part of the bracket and on the opposite side. So you'd have potentially a pathway to MetLife for the likes of a Don Bosco Prep, having to then still beat St. Joe's for a second time. And quite frankly, St. Joe's should have beaten the Ironmen the first time they played, if not for some mental miscues and bad execution on field goal attempts. That could have been a whole different ball game. So it's a lot of the line here for BC. And again, if there's a way of being a very quiet number 2 ranked team in the state and a very quietly ranked top 30 team in the country, it'd be Bergen Catholic. If BC were to win and win emphatically even, that would open up the discussion to a lot of people of, whoa, even though they lost to Bosco, maybe BC still is the team to beat here in New Jersey. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how the Crusaders play in front of a huge crowd here at home against St. Joe's. The Bergen Catholic soccer team is now 12-3-1 on this season. They've advanced to play in the semifinals of the 2025 Bergen County Tournament, where they're going to be taking on number 5 seed Ridgewood. The Crusaders had to really dig down deep to get through the tournament, as they had some tough games against Leonia, having that 1-0 victory. But BC is battle-tested, so good luck to them against the Maroons. The Crusaders can win their league title outright with a win against Paramus Catholic here at Crusader Stadium this Thursday. So a lot of different championships on the line. And BC ranks 3rd overall in power points right now in non-public A. So the Crusaders know that they can be on the opposite side of national powerhouse St. Benedict's if they continue to produce these wins and maybe even have a chance to catch Del Barden, who's right now in the number 2 spot in the standings, and maybe have home field advantage themselves on their way to a state final appearance. And then, Matt, the cross-country program, they placed 2nd overall at the Bergen County groups. A great performance for them. The freshmen in the JV each won first place. So the Crusader youngins are proving to be very, very talented, and that's going to build the experience for Coach Powers in years to come. And the cross-country program is going to be racing in the Bergen Meet of Champions this Saturday. So again, all of these sports programs are thriving right now, but it's now starting to become money time. As you mentioned, the leaves are falling, the weather's starting to get cooler. This is where it's championship time, and you're playing for it. Football, soccer, and cross-country each positioning themselves for big runs this postseason time. And that's a rundown of the sports programs here at BC. And then the upcoming events on campus. This is going to be a fun one, and a question is going to be for you, sir. Trunk or treat being offered by the Student Government Association. Will Cam be making an appearance on campus? And even if he's not, does he have his first Halloween costume set in stone yet, or is that still to be decided?
Oh, he's got his costume. You got to see the costume. I'm not going to give it away. You got to actually see it. It actually got delivered yesterday. We tried the first one on him, and it was very tight. It's very form-fitting. I was like, I'm uncomfortable looking at it. So you know what? Might gotta go size up. That's to be determined as well on Sunday. You never know. Anything's up in the air, really. You never know how any of this works. I feel like I'm still a novice at this. It's been 10 months. Sunday's a great opportunity for families in the community to be able to come out and celebrate Halloween and celebrate the season. This is our 2nd year doing it, and I know last year it was a lot of fun. I know that there was face painting and there was a bunch of different activities for kids to do, and it's a great way to connect with the community, in addition to being kind of like a fundraiser for the SGA, even though the event is free. But there's different things that people can buy and participate in, and so it's a good opportunity for not just a fundraiser for SGA, but outreach for the community.
And that is being run by Christine Sorrentino, who did an amazing job last year, along with the Student Government Association. Mary Patera is going to be there, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So even if you don't have a Bergen Catholic student, if you have a young son or daughter, you want to find something to do in the lead up to Halloween, come out to Bergen Catholic. It's going to be in the BC parking lot from 3 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, October 26th, for our 2nd annual Trunk or Treat event here at BC. And the final big event, Matt, on the horizon here at Bergen Catholic, it's going to be the first ever Crusader Leadership Symposium. That's going to be held here on campus on Tuesday, October 28th, and it sounds like it has all the makings to be a special event that's going to be produced year after year here in Crusader Country.
Dylan Usatine did an amazing job putting this together. He was on the podcast last year when he was really starting to promote the idea of this, and he has been working on it since the fall of last year up until this point. So it'll be 4 alums who will come back and lead they will be on a panel discussion for the entire student body on leadership in different fields of interest. We have some politicians coming in. We have some the Bergen County prosecutors coming in. We have a couple of different alum as well coming in to be on that panel. And then members of the Finance and Investment and Crusader CEO Club will be participating in roundtable discussions with 8 more alums who are coming in to lead roundtable discussions. So the entire school community gets to hear the panel, and then the 2 organizations get to hear in a much more intimate setting about leadership and talking about different things in leadership. And they'll rotate. They have 20 minutes with 3 different leaders in their fields. So it's going to be a great opportunity to showcase our alums to our students to our alums, and it goes back to what makes Bergen Catholic different, and that participation by our alumni to help develop the young men that are currently in the building.
It follows that reputation, that tradition of Catholic gentlemen leaders, and that's what's going to be on display for the Crusader Leadership Symposium that's going to be coming up on Tuesday, October 28th here on campus. So that'll do it for another episode here of the Bergen Catholic Podcast. Episode 38 is in the books. Again, special thanks to Patrick Maron for joining us here and telling us all about his Bergen Catholic experience. So for my co-host, Matt Rosa, I'm Dan Long saying so long, take care, and Deus Vult.